Bobby Frieda here with the Ground Standard Agency on the After Hours podcast, and today we have Brian Wright from Killer Bee Combat Sports Academy. How you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm very happy to have you.
Thank you. And I was told this is the first one. I'm honored.
The official first one.
Wow, that's great. That's cool.
Getting all the kinks out on you.
Yeah. What made you guys want to do a podcast?
So I know so many different school owners and professionals in the martial arts industry and other industries as well that I learned a lot of different stories, awesome stories and history and experiences from different people that I thought this would be a great opportunity to share those and also share some insight and feedback on the martial arts industry as a whole.
I'm 51 now, and I started this in '98. And so March will be 28 years. So it's funny because, I have to accept the fact that I'm the old man in the industry now. When I first started, I was 24. I don't think I really had anything to add. And over time, I've been through every iteration of marketing you could possibly think of for martial arts businesses and just the evolution of the sport and all that. And so now I get a lot of these conversations are starting to pop up. I'm like happy to share, but it's also showing how old I'm getting too.
No, old is good. Old is experience.
Yeah, 50 is not that bad. I thought 50 would be terrible. When I was 30, I thought 50 would be bad, but when you're actually here, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I thought 38 was going to be bad when I was 28, and now it's just every year is just better and better, I feel like.
Yeah, it definitely, especially as a business owner, to survive all the ups and downs, and when you look at the statistics behind martial arts business in particular, most of them don't last 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm going on 28.
Yep.
It's consistently, we didn't disappear and come back or anything. It's been from 24 to 51. This has been it's just constantly been moving along.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of school owners I talk to that are open the same amount of time as you. 10 students sometimes I hear, 15 students. Right, no accolades, nothing that they really have done in the community, in the industry. So in 28 years, not only have you been around, but you've actually accomplished, a lot too.
Yeah, we all start with nothing. I mean, I worked a full-time job in the beginning to keep the school going. I mean, I had a job to pay the rent because the school couldn't afford anything. And then over time, it starts to evolve. When I was 20, I was 24.
Yeah.
I opened up when I was 24.
Yeah.
What do you know at 24?
Right.
And this is 1998, 24. There's no real internet to speak of. There's no Google Maps. I started off handing out flyers at Foodtown. That was literally, my first marketing pitch was standing in a karate uniform handing out flyers at Foodtown.
Yeah.
And that's how it starts, and then as everything progressed, I tried to stay, current with how everything was evolving, and I've always prided myself on the fact that I look forward. I'm not trying to play catch up. I'm trying to look at what's coming next. So, you start off with nothing. You don't really know anything, and you do the best you can, and then you learn, and then it starts to evolve. And I'm very fortunate now. I have a very solid business now, and competition has always been something we've done really well, which has helped because we always have something to talk about. The proof is in what we do.
Yeah.
So, I got back 2 weeks ago. It was my 20th UFC that I've had somebody fight on. And I think we're at 16 countries we've fought in this time period. I fought in every state but Alaska and Hawaii. It's wild. You get to see the world and you get to do this thing. And yeah, I just figured out how to, we have this competitive team. Then we have, I'll say a commercial school. We've been able to merge the two, so that just created a unique ecosystem. It took me a long time to get there, to figure out how to do it. But I would say the last 10 years have been very different, explosive growth, really redefining the culture, and I think we do it very different. I have a unique perspective. I don't know if it's unique, but I think it's unique because when I talk to people, they're shocked when I say this. But I abandon the habits and practices of what the majority of people are doing. Because if you want to be number one, you have to let go of the other 99%. If I wanted to be 2, 3, 4, 5, or 100, I'll go do what they're doing.
Right.
But I have to understand what they're doing because I have to be competitive. But I've got to go places that they're not willing to go. to achieve things that they're not willing to achieve. And I've applied that literally to every aspect of my business, my life, my business, everything.
Yeah.
So you know my gym, we're very different. We think different, we act different, we move different. It's how we met.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's literally how we met.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. That was crazy. So I'm 38 now. I started jiu-jitsu 25, 26, and I remember starting jiu-jitsu in the area and seeing your Instagram account everywhere. I would see ads come up, the black and the yellow, everywhere. Followed it for years. And on a Sunday, I go for a run. I go on the beach. I read. I don't want to go to a Wegmans to go work out. I had to go pick up food. And who do I see down the snack aisle? It's you and your wife. And all of a sudden, I point my finger and I say, I know you from online. And you guys are just laughing. I've been watching you for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. It's crazy how the world works. But yeah, that's the power of having good media, a good message. Good bones in the community, something that you're doing that's different, because most schools don't do that. Most schools don't put any credence or forget about video and photo, but even marketing in general.
So I feel that a lot of people look at, how are you going to fit yourself into something versus how am I going to represent myself? So you get a lot of people that are trying to, what's the catchphrase? What's the perfect image? What's the color scheme? There's too much like market research and not a lot of representation of who they are. So for me, the number one thing that changed for me was especially with Instagram. Instagram was the first thing I was like, okay, because in the beginning I'm like, oh, what are people doing?
Right.
And then I tried to do it and it didn't feel right because it wasn't me. And then I said, wait a minute. Like a light bulb went off, and I said, a customer is not coming through my door, and if they're not going to stay if they find that we are different than what we're representing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I have to operate in a way so that when they come, they're going to verify we are that, and we need to be that. So I'm very authentic in what I put out. When I put the mic on and I have someone on the camera, I have zero direction on what they're going to put out. Let's just do what we do, and they understand what I'm looking to achieve. But it's literally just us raw that goes out.
Candid.
Like I'm not like, hey, this is Brian and here's an arm bar.
Yeah.
Those are the videos that I laugh at because, okay, if you're a high level guy trying to do instructional, that's one thing. But if you're trying to sell your school or you're trying to let people know who you are, that arm bar, you can learn that arm bar anywhere, but they want to know who you are. They want to know what's your cadence, what's your personality? How do you interact? Like, what's your communication level? Like, that's what they want.
Right.
So that's why, for me, I just want to have as authentic a representation as possible. I mean, when we were first talking about doing projects together, my main concern was just, I don't want AI generated. You know what I mean? I want authenticity. Yeah. It's got to be in my voice. It's got to be our imagery. It has to be that. And, it's really important. I look at it, your marketing has to be like it's the zoo. People are walking through the zoo and they see characters in their natural environment. I want them to be looking through the bars and looking at us in our natural environment. Yeah. I don't want them to be all pumped up thinking, oh, we're one thing, and then they come in and go, huh? Yeah. Who is this? Or even worse, I misrepresent all the way up until you give me money, and then I go behave a different way, and then I literally I'm destroying my business, one member at a time. One unhappy person is going to tell 100 people you suck. One happy person might tell 2 or 3 that you're good. Yeah. So you got to get rid of the negative talk and you got to focus on, as much positivity as possible because you're only going to squeeze a little bit of juice out of that person. But that negative person, oh my God, they're going to go to your Google review. They're going to post on Facebook. They're going to hop in on the comment section on anything from TikTok to Instagram or whatever. That person's pissed. They're fired up. That's where the momentum tends to be more. So you have to be careful, and that's a trap a lot of us have run into over the years, where when you're trying to specifically market to make money versus represent yourself to build a community. And ultimately, we're trying to build a community that's trying to achieve a result. Right. And that's where I think the disconnect when you're young to where you've been doing it long enough, you start to realize it's like, oh, this group of people is what affords me my life. Okay, let me take care of them and let me expand it in a way that makes them happy too. So we're bringing in people that subscribe, not people that we're just trying to extract cash out of. And that's where I feel a lot of businesses fall short.
Yeah, they generate students 100%. Like I notice a lot of schools wanting to generate students, but lacking the desire to build a community that keeps the students.
Yes.
Right, and it's a good point that you bring up too about the disconnect between the types of content somebody can make and the reasons why somebody makes content. You know, most times when I have conversations about content creation or what kind of offer do we want to run for Black Friday or for New Year's, it's the same type of thing. Do we want to run for a school 1 month free or get half off the first month? And my question is always the same. Why are we talking about, what's the reason why we're talking about those particular offers? What are we trying to accomplish? And the answer is always the same.
Yeah.
More students. Okay.
And the only reason they have that idea is because they saw someone else do it.
Exactly.
They didn't look at their student base and say, this is what brought them in. This is the value that they're getting out of it. How do I provide an entrance to that value for somebody like them?
Right.
In a way that's going to make them feel like, hey, I got a discount. But I mean, we were talking, and you're one of the few people I've ever talked to that was like, hey, if you're going to run an annual, like a really big paid in full kind of thing, make sure it's only X%. Because a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll extract as many dollars as they can. And so they have this phenomenal end of November and they're broke December 1st. And they don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you can have packed mats, but if it's all paid for, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And then you stop servicing them because now you're hunting for the next group of people that you need to extract money from. And then those people that pay for the year, they're not going to have the best experience. And then you're mad at yourself, but you're taking it out on them.
Yeah.
Like it becomes a nightmare.
Yeah.
And again, that's just martial culture too. We have a very interesting group of people that do this for a living, and not all of them are fully prepared for the community challenges from, you know, I got rid of rank probably 12 years ago. We dropped all rank. I got rid of it because I understand rank, I understand the value of it, and I understand where it originally came from, what the intention was.
Yeah.
When the Japanese created the rank system, it was an educational system. It was Gichin Funakoshi and Jigoro Kano are the original rank guys. They were educators. They were school teachers in Japan. And they were like, we need a first grade, second grade, third grade, college. We have to have the same kind of structure, which was fine. But then when it left and it went to other places, it got murky. And it was used properly in some places, used improperly in others. So you have like a mystical connotation of a black belt in a lot of places, where when I was in Japan, if a kid didn't have a black belt, they were like, what, you didn't play basketball? You know what I mean? Like, because judo, karate, kendo, these were just normal activities in school.
Yeah.
And if you don't graduate with a black belt, like, still like, what, you didn't play sports?
It's like gym. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like, oh, you know, you joined a monastery and shaved your head and like learned how to levitate. It was nothing. It was just a thing.
Yes.
And there's too much mysticism and there's too much like making it this grander accomplishment than it actually is. And because of all the weird outside influences, people were coming in the door and they're almost implementing an odd hierarchy based off a rank from their own stuff. And it wasn't even anything that I'm putting out there. People are like, well, I'm higher than you, so I'm going to stand on you. I'm not going to lift you. Like, you get weird stuff. So I was like, you know what? The friction that's occurring, I want to get rid of all the friction. I want to have one community. I want everyone to be equal. And I want the barometer of judgment to be effort and how much you help versus how much have you done and what color is your rank. Like, I don't care if you've been there a day or you've been here 10 years, you're a member, you're an equal member of the community.
Right.
Just sweat, work hard, and help the guy next to you. I have one rule. It is, if someone's standing in front of you with less experience than you, be for them what you wanted when you were in their shoes. If we do this over and over and over again, we're fine. I don't need anything. And that's the first thing I tell somebody. I say that, and then I say make friends, because everybody in the gym gets together and trains outside of class a lot. And I'm just, again, it's equal communal, and the progress is coming from everybody working together. It's not, I sit up top, you listen to me. It's, I own the place, I'm the creator of the community, right, but it's your community too. Mm-hmm. You don't have equal say to me because I pay the bills, but, and I have the experience, but we have a shared stitch. So it's individual goals, group effort, over and over and over and over again. So that's what I find is the formula that kind of changed everything. But it took experience and time to get there. Yeah. I had a friend, I had an argument. I had a guy who was training me for like 10 years. And he said, I'm going to go train somewhere else. And I got mad. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something along the lines like, if you were at, and I'm not going to name a guy's school, if you were training at this guy's school, he'd probably kick your ass for leaving. And he's like, are you threatening me? And I was like, I'm actually not. And I kind of don't know why I threw that at him. And I like had to like stop. And I was like, why am I being like this? Like my ego's really getting in the way of this. Like he paid. He doesn't owe me anything. Right. He extracted everything he wanted out of it. Right. He wants to go try something else. Right. Like, what am I doing? And then like a year later, he came back. And we were cool. But I needed like a weird moment of like, I was like, why am I acting like this? Mm-hmm. And like, I just had to have an introspective moment and then just experience and time and kind of looking at how I was seeing the hierarchy, whatever. I was like, you know what, we're just going to get rid of it. And we're just going to flatten the playing field. And we're going to give everybody a chance. And it's worked. I mean, I quadrupled my business legitimately quadrupled my business in 18 months. Like went from like barely getting by to like, oh my God, we don't have enough room on the mat for everybody.
What would you say was if you said one thing that was the linchpin in making that change over that period of time? What was it?
What's the thing that made the growth happen?
Yeah.
It was social media. It was because that created an environment worth watching. Yeah. That was the thing. Like it just created an environment where the philosophy was actually something you could see and feel, and it was breathing. It was not like you come in, you shut up, you do what you're told, you know, you bow, you clap, you sing, yeah, you pay for your test and all that. And then philosophy is something that's like a random post. Yeah. You know, like this was like a living, breathing, communal project. And then that made other people within the ecosystem more comfortable. And they're talking about it differently. And then a lot of people that are training at other places were like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, what is this thing you're doing? Yeah. Like, how are they doing this? And then our competitive success was undeniable. And we became we were very threatening to people. We had a very negative reaction from the guys that were not doing it the way we were doing it, because when people would become aware of what we were doing, they were like, wow, I think I like that more. And then when we were doing well, they're like, well, they're not doing what we're doing and it's working, so why am I doing this? Like we were creating too many questions within the community when we were crossing with people, and it created a lot of friction. Yeah. So that's fine. I'm okay with that. But it's like I said before, I'm not going to do what you're doing to get along with you, because my goal is to be, I don't want to be the best at anyone's expense, but I'm also not going to hold myself back from my goals at my expense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, I've got to fully go after mine. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hurt anybody else in the process, because I think there's enough fish in the sea. I say it all the time in my building where my school is, if another school opened up, yeah, of course my ego would get me and I would be salty and I'd probably be a prick to them and I'd yell at them about parking spots and whatever, because I'm human. But I truly believe like we could all be on top of each other, and we're all unique and we're all different, and there's enough people in our community to service all of us. Mm-hmm. I can't take every 18 to 24-year-old within 10 miles of my place and fit them in my place.
Right, there's too many people, yeah.
50 schools couldn't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't care how many square feet your gym is. Mm-hmm. You can't fit the entire world in there. Mm-hmm. You know, like, so relax. Yeah. Go fit the people that subscribe to how you do it. Right. But my biggest criticism is I don't think people even know what they do. I think they know what they represent. I think they know what art they practice. I think they know what organization they represent, what tournaments they go to, but they don't know who they are in the business. I don't think they know this is the value that I provide these people. It's more along the lines of proximity to me is all they're paying for. And that's the black belt mentality and why I had to get rid of that too. I don't like that. Like, I did have an instructor who's actually a very well-known instructor. I'm not going to say his name because he'll be pissed. But he said to me, in a moment of weakness, he said, I find people that couldn't sit at the cool kids table in high school, and I make them feel like they're sitting at the cool kids table. And I was like, that is the worst thing I've ever heard of in my life. So you're not a martial arts instructor. You're like I don't even know what that is. I mean, you're basically the bully you were in high school still. You're a gatekeeper to like cool. And what person wants to participate in that? And the sad part of it is that the misconception of a lot of what we do is that. Like, people feel like, oh, this black belt's the gatekeeper. I have to make him happy, and then they'll let me in, and I get to be like them. Mm-hmm. So they feed weakness instead of create strength. Mm. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing here. We're supposed to be making people strong, not encouraging weakness and then profiting off of it. Right. But there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about things we see, and there's a lot of me going on. There's not a lot of like, this is what I can do for you. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, this is what I've done. This is why I'm great. And that's the stuff that I feel like, again, the more we can get away from that and the more real communities we can build around philosophy and ideas and actual progress, the better off we'll be.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the root of our industry. Martial arts itself is not finance or real estate or restaurants. At its core, it's changing people's lives. It's helping people. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a philosophy behind it. And one critique I have of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA schools generally is that, in my background, I mean, you know, your background too, Taekwondo, karate, it was very traditional, right?
But I learned, and too, when you say traditional, the problem is what people think is traditional is not traditional. Just because you're wearing a Japanese gi or a Korean gi doesn't mean you're traditional.
Right.
The clothes you wear is not the tradition.
No, it's what they teach and what they want to convey in their teachings.
But tradition is handing down of information in a particular way from one generation to the next. That is a tradition. So the Japanese tradition of martial arts is very different in their culture versus how their culture is expressed elsewhere. So senpai-kohai is senior-junior relationship. That's the thing that started the catalyst in my brain. So I go to Osaka, Japan. I'm training at headquarters for Seido Kaikan, full contact karate. It's the foundation of K-1. I'm involved in K-1. I'm involved in full contact karate. And your senpai was your senior. Kohai's junior, senpai's senior. Your seniors they were your demon on the mat. But when class was over, if you didn't have money, they fed you. If you didn't have clothes, they put clothes on your back. Right. If you were a foreign student, they made sure that you had a place to stay, that nobody was harassing you in town. They took care of you. So they were the meanest instructor, but the only person that was really taking care of you. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing where it was like, because here I found, like when I was training in the States, before I went to Japan, your senior was the hardest guy on you in every way possible. And when you were hungry, whatever food you had, you gave them. They never fed you. They never took care of you because they were beat when they were in your position. So they're beating you because they were conditioned to believe that's what it was. But no, you got beaten on the mat and you got taken care of off the mat. And then if you survived it, you took over their role at some point for another crop of guys coming up. And it was like, you've got to make them strong. You've got to make them tough, but you also have to make sure they're okay. And that was very eye-opening to me. So when I'm training there, it's one way, then I'm training here, and I'm like, oh my God, you guys really don't even understand what you're doing. You're misusing the words. You don't understand the culture. This is American. This is Western, let's say. This is not Eastern. And that was, so as a young guy, this is starting to percolate in my head, and it wasn't until later, you know, that after my life and my thoughts kind of caught up, and that's where the dropping of the rank, and that was so important. And we created, our structure really is a senior-junior relationship now, where I was saying before, it's like if you know more, be for them what you wanted. So that's a senior-junior relationship. We just don't have senpai-kohai terms.
Right. So you don't use the terms.
I don't use the terms.
No
we just
ranks.
Created it organically.
Okay.
We organically created an environment that runs more traditionally than the fake traditional schools that are saying because they're wearing a belt and a gi. I get in trouble all the time. I have this, I have a post I put out. I was on another podcast, and the guy was saying something, and I was really tired. I was a little cranky, and I said that I think it's ridiculous that in America, guys that barely graduated high school are asking people to call them professor. And it got clipped out. And so I have 1,000 likes, and I have 2,000 really sensitive jiu-jitsu guys pissed off at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but let's not forget, you can't change the real history of all this.
Yeah.
Brazilian jiu-jitsu is not this warrior Japanese art. It's a modern art. Jiu-jitsu in Brazil came from, there was a Japanese guy that taught a Brazilian guy, and that Brazilian guy created a bunch of guys that did it, and then they created a network or whatever, but it's not that old. What are we, 2 generations into this?
100 years, yeah.
Like not even, I don't even know for 100 years.
I think we just celebrated 100 years from the Gracie, what do they call it, where it was like a $20,000 bet, the Gracie Challenge.
Okay.
I think that was just about 100 years ago. The other
Okay,
day.
so yeah, so you're like probably 110 years at best.
Yeah.
We're not talking about thousands of years of tradition. You're not talking about samurai armor and swords. You're talking about a bunch of guys in Brazil that created this thing.
Yep.
But let's be real about where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil is smaller than judo and karate. That's a statistical fact, by the way.
Really?
Judo is bigger than Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil because it's the Olympic sport. But I'm not saying that as a negative.
Yeah.
But people think like everybody knows Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Not true. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is bigger in America than he is in Brazil because the Gracies moved to California. They became the stunt coordinators for Lethal Weapon, and then they saw American marketing, and then they were like, hey, we're in Hollywood, we're making movies. That's why in Lethal Weapon 1, Mel Gibson triangle chokes Gary Busey at the end of the movie.
Wow.
Because Jorge Gracie was the stunt coordinator. That was the first time you're ever going to see a triangle choke in a movie.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
And that was the money that started the Gracie Academy in Torrance.
Wow.
So you have Hollywood producers and actors funding it. That's why the dude from Married with Children is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
That's how he hooked up with them.
Because they're Hollywood stunt guys doing this.
Wow, that's crazy.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like this traditional art came here and started in like a shack in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
No, they came here, Hollywood, bright lights, big city, used culture and creativity to do it.
Yep.
Horian has been documented for saying we use the word professor because here it means more. Yes, Portuguese, we use professor, but yeah, it does resonate a little bit better here. Mm-hmm. So they used it to create an authority word, and people get mad at me, and I'm like, yo, you got to look at the real history of it.
Yeah.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a term doesn't even exist until Joe Rogan says it in the middle of a UFC. It was Gracie Jiu-Jitsu until somebody says it in the middle of a fight because it went beyond the Gracies. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was always Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It didn't become Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu until much later.
Right.
So like you've got this murky history that they whitewash now because they want to have like Taekwondo-ish kind of schools now where everybody's got the uniform, everybody's got the belt, but they still don't have a curriculum. They still don't have a grading process that makes you actually test. There's a lot of problems here. From a cultural perspective, there's a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You're giving out rank without having to test for it. You're using words. So my favorite comment on Instagram was a guy said to me, he goes, I don't know why you're so upset it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and we're using Portuguese. I said, then why are you using Jiu-Jitsu?
Good point.
Why do you say tatami?
Yeah.
Why do you use this? Because he gave me all the Portuguese words they use. And I'm like, yeah, but you got 50 Japanese words that you mix into it too. So is it Japanese or is it Brazilian? Which one is it? If it's both and you authentically want to say it's both, that's fine. But you can't say that we don't use sensei and shihan because we're from Brazil. But then don't use jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Don't say tatami. Don't say kimono. Kimono's a wrong usage of the word anyway. Your gi is not a kimono. It's a dogi, D-O-G-I, traditionally. I mean, I can argue about all the weird stuff. You know, I do think words matter. I think history matters. I have no problem with change. I have no problem with something being unique. What I have a problem is redefining history to put people in line. That's my only issue with it. So when you get a guy who's using the word professor, who's not Portuguese, he's not Brazilian, doesn't speak Portuguese, he likes to use the word because it makes him feel better about himself. He's really not done much, and he's standing up front using that term, it's a problem. Renzo, I'm not complaining. Call Renzo professor. He's from freaking Brazil.
Yeah, but how is it any different than sensei? If you're a karate black belt, right? Just as devil
But
advocate.
if you grew up in the favelas and you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and you have this hybrid language, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you grow up in Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah.
you've never met a Brazilian person,
Yeah.
and you're doing this and you're only emulating a Brazilian person, I'm not saying that you should be coach and call it a gym.
Emulating the history, because then a black belt in karate, I shouldn't be called sensei. I should be called what? Instructor.
But that's the thing. But
Coach?
Japanese culture it's definitive from the start. So when you took judo and you brought it over to Brazil,
Right.
there's no like, it's this weird, but again, okay, like Japanese martial arts, it's a big body that was defined specifically and is still governed on an international scale. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very clannish, and they all have their own little things. There's one judo. There's a million different karates, but there's only one judo. There's only one taekwondo.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not, and this is the reason why it's not in the Olympics either, because it's so
You can't
heavily
agree to anything.
Right, and then you have in Abu Dhabi I forget they put, what is it called? I looked this up years ago, where they tried to define Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they broke it down into 3 sections. The second one was Nawaza, right? Standing, Nawaza, and then I forget what else. But the point is that they're doing that to try to
They're trying to put a curriculum in place where there is none.
organize, because nothing is organized. And the IBJJF, which technically should be organizing it, if you really think about it,
And that was, yeah.
are not for some
And that's
reason.
what I was
Yeah.
going to say was like, well, because they can't, because the powers that be, all the guys with all the students like the unique aspect of it. And it also, think about it, if you do it this way, they do it that way, and then you say, well, if you leave my way and go that way, you're going to have to start over again. So they all like kind of keep their kingdoms within themselves by not combining, because if it's all the same, then you can go to different places.
Right.
But they have such a closed door, clannish mentality, they can't allow that. And I'm like, look, if you're really good at your job, don't worry. Like, be good at your job. Don't create a culture of fear. Oh, you're going to be a white belt again if you go to the other school.
Yeah.
Just be like, you won't be here, and you like it here, and this provides value for you.
Right.
But if they go to the other place and they say, but that place provides more value, what you have to do is you have to say, good. As a human being, I care that you get what you're looking for.
Yes.
Bye.
Yes, and this is where people
Enjoy
go wrong. We talked about this in terms of when we first met. Jeans. You're gonna buy, right? Was that you? You're gonna buy the jeans that fit. You're gonna buy the jeans that
Yes,
want. That's
yes.
why, if somebody moves next door to you, who cares? Because ultimately, you provide something, someone else provides something. The two cultures, the two value systems are very, very different. Your curriculums are maybe somebody else doesn't even have a curriculum, but you can't force somebody to buy your product.
Yeah.
When it just doesn't seem to fit well with them, nor should you want them there, because they're gonna not fit into your culture the way that they could otherwise.
And that's where we run into, okay, leave your ego at the door. Yeah, well, why don't we do that in the office? Why don't we do that in the marketing, in the language? Why don't we do that everywhere? I get dumped on a lot. A lot of the local Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys will have the comment of that I'm a hater. And I'm like, I'm not a hater. I don't hate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at all. I think it's amazing art. I think it changed everything. It provided the world in which we don't have MMA if it wasn't for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Of course.
We don't have the modern martial arts scene that we know in 2025 without it. I appreciate what it did. I appreciate what it exposed. But the cultural side of it is the hardest part, where the black belt mentality that a lot of these people have, where it's like, oh, we're open and we're free, but don't question me. You do what I say, not as I do. And there's a lot of people that are really bad people, that people overlook that side of somebody because they don't want to lose what they've put in. And that's the problem without having a unified curriculum. So if I'm a brown belt in this guy's school and then I go to this guy's school, I might have to start over. And so I have 5 years in. And I also think it's ridiculous to take you 10 years to get a black belt. Like, really? Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
What are you, nuts?
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. Yeah. Like, a black belt shouldn't be that important. Yes, it should be important. But getting to black belt in Japanese philosophy was always, it's a beginning, not an end.
Sure.
Where the problem is for jiu-jitsu in a lot of ways, the black belt is like kind of the end goal.
Because it takes so long.
But that's by design.
Yeah.
And the whole culture of it is to make you afraid to leave. I don't like fear.
Right.
I like value.
Yeah.
I hate fear.
Yeah.
And when guys say I'm hating, I hate the way in which you operate. I hate when you say, I don't, like, okay, so I get invited to cross-training places, I'll go. And then I open my door for them, and you can't go. They tell their students, you can't go. And I'm like, but it's okay for me, but not for you? And there's no answer. Why is it okay for me to come to you, but you guys not to come to me? What's going on? What's the problem here? But there's a lot of, come hang out with us, but we're never going to go hang out with you. And it's not because I'm providing less value. It's because they're afraid of walking out of their door because they were brainwashed into this idea that it's like, no, you have your place. You're really special. Everyone should come to you. You should only do your thing. Yeah. Why do I have to leave my school every Tuesday night to go spar at your place? Yeah. Why?
You can't come here? Yeah.
You can't come here?
Yeah.
I'm showing up with more guys than you have available for me. You don't have a cage. I have a cage. Like, we're training MMA. Like, there's all these weird little things that have happened over the years that I've always been like, this doesn't make sense, guys.
Especially with the resources. If you have a cage and they don't, well, that makes no sense.
Well, it does make sense to them in their business because ultimately they don't care about their fighters.
Their guys are going to see what you have, and they're afraid they're going to want to come.
Yeah, and it's like subconscious in a lot of ways too, because a lot of them, they're like, no, you can't do it. And it's kind of like, they don't even really have a good reason for it. It's just like they're conditioned to be like, no, this is just what we do.
Yeah.
And so, like, again, clannish mentality, cliquey, clanny, it's nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a problem with my students training other places. I don't have a problem from people from other places coming and training with me. When I have a problem is it's just one way. If it's back and forth, I have no problem.
Yeah, of course.
I have a lot of friends that they come to me and I go to them. We're good. No problem. Nobody's trying to steal anybody.
It's even, yeah.
Like, if I don't charge your guys, don't charge my guys. Right. That kind of thing. Like, but I literally had a guy hit me up and say, I feel like you're trying to steal food off my table. I'm like, I've never charged a single one of your guys that's ever come to spar at my place. You've hit every one of my guys for $50 when they show up, and you've tried to sell memberships to a bunch of them, and there's 2 of them that have been my students for over 15 years that you were trying to say that it was just better for them to be at your spot.
Wow.
So how am I doing anything wrong to you besides making your guys better?
Well, you're doing that to me.
When you're trying to literally screw me at every chance you can get. Yeah. I mean, I've had this happen to me a dozen times. And then I'll get the reputation because they all are kind of like connected together. So it's just like, there's a big black wall right there, that big black belt wall. And it's fine. I don't lose sleep over any of it. I just scratch my head because I'm like, I see what you post, then I see what you do. I see what you say that you're aspiring to, but then I know what you're doing. And they're not aligning. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best guy. I'm not the worst guy. But it's pretty clear who I am. And if you don't like it, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to ask you to tolerate behavior in exchange for anything. And that's where a lot of it goes wrong. I mean, you got a lot of guys that when people get to know them, they're like, wow, this person's not the best person. Like, when I say not the best, like, there's infidelity, there's illegal activity, there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's a lot of stuff like that. And students don't call it out or mess with it because they don't want to lose the time in. They don't want to start over somewhere else. So they tolerate it. And that's why you have a lot of instructors that have a lot of personal problems because they're enabled by their student base. I had somebody fought recently. A friend of mine called me up, and a guy came out of retirement basically for a fight. And a friend of his called me up and he's like, did he forget he's not good at this? He's like, did he forget he was never really a good fighter? And he got annihilated. Yeah. And he had like 300 people there. Wow. And he was like he's been a coach now for a long time. And so all of his students are, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. And he started to remember everything. And he started to look at himself better than he actually is. And then he came out and it was like, did he just forget? But again, when you put yourself on that pedestal in front of the mob and the mob's cheering for you, sometimes you lose sight with reality. And yeah, that's I guess like the biggest problem I have is, you misrepresent stuff to like make some money, and then these people come in and then they're already brainwashed to think you're something that you might not be. And then the momentum comes, and then after a while you start to believe your own BS. And then it just snowballs into a nightmare.
I see it happening more in martial arts than any other industry that I've ever been involved in, and I truly think it's because of the black belt.
Yeah.
If you have, I've heard people
and threats of violence.
And I've heard people since I've been training. We'll be bowling, and there'll be a black belt that gets a strike. black belt shit, right? You run a quick mile, black belt shit. Whatever it is, a slam dunk, black belt shit. Everything's black. You have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so you're a black belt everywhere. And this mentality is very dangerous in everything, but particularly in business. You have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so you're a black belt in business, in marketing, in finance, in everything required to run a business. When 90% of businesses fail, because you have a black belt doesn't mean that you're going to be against that rule. You know?
You've been around this enough to see the trend. You get a guy who's a black belt, and he's really bad at business. The first problem that occurs is they start bringing in student-invested money. Right? Basically, they con somebody into keeping the gym open.
Yep. Yeah.
And then they pull it along.
Yeah.
And then they sell part of it off. And then, like, the next thing you know, you've got another schools come in because they're doing anything and everything they can to make money.
Yeah.
And they don't know how, so they're just hustling at that point.
Yeah.
Or they're opening up like an ice cream stand down the street because so-and-so is involved in ice cream and he took 50 grand for that,
Yep.
but it was like a $60,000 investment, 50 of it went to that and 10 of it he funneled back to his school. Like I see this kind of crap all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, you watched a Gary Vee video and you think he can hustle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
That's the internet. That's not real.
Yeah.
The X's and the O's aren't lining up
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
2 + 2 = 4,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's like, you gotta understand your numbers and all that. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I ask guys on schools, like, they don't even really know how many students they've got. They don't know what their take is. They don't know how many people they got at monthly, paid in fulls.
None
they
of
don't know
it.
how many privates.
No.
I'm like, oh, that's why you sell solar.
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
you can't run a real business.
Yes.
So you have a part-time job to survive.
Right.
But you have a full-time job
Yeah.
that blows your whole life up.
Which they're
makes
not.
you feel good because you're a black belt and all these people love you.
And everybody looks at you. Exactly. The craziest part is that somebody will take out 50, 60, 70,000 or more dollars for the school. It's not making money. They go and get a second job instead of just picking up the phone and calling the leads that are coming in.
Yeah.
They will literally, I have spoken, I can't tell you how many people that will refuse to actually work in their business and do any other thing possible for some kind of get-rich scheme.
But it's beneath them.
That's crazy, though. Then don't open up a school. Then you have not everybody in the world is entitled to owning a business. And if you think you're entitled to owning a business and you start a business and that's not for you, then you're in for a rude awakening because there's no break in your day. This is a Saturday right now, and we're filming, right?
Yeah.
You know, like there is no such thing as a Saturday or a Sunday or after 5 p.m. for me. And I say that with like love in my heart. Like I love what I do. Like I would never have it any other way.
My running joke is I was like, oh, make your own hours, they said. They just didn't tell you it was all 24.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, you can make your own hours, live your own life, do whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
as long as you're there all the time.
Yep.
You know, it's like, it's funny. But I had a guy that I was training and his life wasn't really going so great at work. And he was like, I think I'm going to start doing personal training and I'm just going to start because and I was like, you can't do that. And he was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm really good. And I was like, yo, if the toilet gets plugged, if the toilet breaks, are you going to fix it? You're going to go plunge the toilet? When so-and-so's mom yells at you because of how you talk to her son, are you going to be nice to her about it? When the phone rings, are you going to answer it? Mm-hmm. When the bank needs you, are you going to go and see them? When you have to pay for this and you have to buy that and you got to deal with this. I was like, right now you're looking at it like, I'm big, I'm strong, I'm really good, and people like me. Yeah. And I'm like, but they like you right now because you didn't ask for money. Mm-hmm. Like the minute you start taking money and you provide a space and they say your space is dirty, what are you going to do? Tell them to clean it? No, you're going to have to vacuum. You're going to have to sweep. You're going to have to do stuff. Like, are you prepared to humble yourself in front of the business? Or are you going to do everything you can to maintain this weird sense of self that you just projected to me?
Yeah.
Like,
lead from the back row, basically.
Yeah, it's a problem. Like, yeah. I mean, the toilet broke in the gym last night, and I had to go in the middle of the night. I had to go to Lowe's, and I had to buy a new float and replace it myself. Mm-hmm. Like, you do what you do. I'll never forget. What fight was it? I was on the road for like 3 weeks. I had to go. It was like Saudi Arabia, Las Vegas, San Jose. Like, it was like Bellator, UFC, Contender Series, like all in a row. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the best thing ever kind of thing. I'll never forget, I landed and I turned my phone on and it was, the toilet broke, the door's not working, this instructor didn't show up, and then my wife's hit me up, your kid is sick, and I was like, this is life.
Oh, this is the other day when we were trying to reach you and you're out of the country?
No,
and you're like, I got 100 messages.
This was like years ago this happened to me.
So same situation.
Same happens to me every time.
Yeah.
But I'm like, thinking I'm this big dog. And I was supposed to be home by like 8 o'clock. I got home at like 12:30 in the morning.
Right.
Because I had to go to Home Depot and buy a new lock for my door. I had to fix a door hinge that broke. I had to replace a thing on my toilet. I had to call 4 people. I had to scream at an instructor who didn't show up. Like, I was like, okay, this is real. All that other stuff is fun, and it's really cool that I got to do it. I was on TV on Saturday, but I'm in the bathroom on my hands and knees covered in shit on Tuesday. That's business.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared for that, don't get involved in it.
Right.
Unless you have so much money that you don't care and you pay other people to do it for you.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, even if you do that, you're always going to be the last line of defense. You might have 15 people in front of you.
And you still got to call the plumber.
Yeah, but you're always going to be the guy who has to pay the taxes at the end of the year. At the end of the year, at the end of the day, you're always going to be the person that is the last man standing to have to do something.
I had one year on Thanksgiving. We always do a 9 a.m. workout on Thanksgiving. We walk into the gym, and there was 6 inches of water, and there was shit floating across my mat.
Oh, God.
The guy next door, his pipe burst, and it blocked up the sewer system, and the sewer system was flowing out of my toilet and like ruined it. And I called my landlord, and I was like, yo, we got a problem. And he said, it's Thanksgiving, and he hung up on me. And then I took a picture, and I sent it to him. And then he hit me back, and he goes, it's Thanksgiving, bro. I'm not doing anything today. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going home today. And my wife and my kids were waiting for me to come home. And I had to I called up 2 dudes who I knew would help. And we had to pull all the mats out and put them outside. And we had to block we turned the water off. And I spent my Thanksgiving cleaning shit off my mats and off my floors so that I could be open on Monday.
Right.
Because I got to pay rent on Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, there's little horrific stories like this. There's so many amazing things that happen that make you get up every day and do this. But you got to be prepared to battle when you got to battle. You got to go to war, you know.
Yeah.
You got to be the warrior in the garden thing.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
you're happy to not have to draw your sword, but every once in a while you got to draw it.
Yeah.
So you can pretend you're a warrior all day long and talk about how great you are, but man, you're going to have to fight, and that fight is not you versus some outside force. It's literally just doing what it takes to keep your business alive so that community continue to be serviced, and they're serviced, and then they're going to pay for that service, and then you're going to be able to live the life that you want. You drive your car, you live in your house, you raise your kids, the whole thing. It's a trade-off. It's, there's no entitlement in this. It's literally a mutually beneficial trade over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I think, when we said tradition before, I truly believe that is the real tradition, the mutual beneficial trade between instructor and student. And we lose sight of that because we overthink it, and that's when it all goes wrong. Just keep it simple and provide value, man.
Right.
Provide value. Be good at what you do. Know who you are. Know what you provide, and give it to people that want to learn it.
Yeah.
Outside of that, what else are we going to do?
Right.
Everything else is BS and gets us in trouble on the internet. You know,
Yeah.
It's crazy. We've sent each other posts here and there about stuff other people have posted, and I'm like, it's so disgustingly transparent how a lot of people are. It's even shocking to me that they can stay in business. But again, not everybody actually wants an authentic relationship with this sport. Some people do want to have that strong, arrogant jerk off of a coach who makes them feel proximity to that, makes them feel better. But I think long-term value, what you're doing for people is not really the best there, but that's me. Again, how I am is not for everybody. I'm too much for some people. They don't want reality. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah. A lot of people can't take it. I've noticed from as far as different instructors, I know a lot of instructors that fit the bill that you're describing too. I'm not even entirely sure that their students always recognize what they're dealing with, or maybe they just stay for the sake or care. They stay for the sake of staying. But also, it's a little bit easier for us to know behind the scenes the nature of some of these instructors in ways that students don't.
you can never expect somebody to know something that they've never been taught.
Exactly.
So people are not joining the school with a judgment on the industry. They're like, it's close to my house. I can afford it.
Right.
It's what I want to do.
It's convenience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like convenience makes them overlook a lot of stuff. But then over time, if it becomes inconvenient,
They start to see it.
but when it becomes like it may be an inconvenient relationship over time, but what makes them stay is the time. The time in now. And that's where it gets weird. Like, so you've been at a place for 5 years and you haven't gotten that belt you really want to get yet. So you're like, I'll stick it out for another year or two. And that's, okay, so if you have a school where all the people disappear at a certain rank, that's not a cultural American problem. You suck as an instructor.
Yes. Yeah.
That's your fault.
Something's off about your curriculum, about the structure of your program.
You're not identifying the warning signs of how people are behaving at a certain point and making the adjustments.
100%.
2 years ago, it was my second cycle in a row where I was going to WKs with athletes. WKs, it's a big kickboxing tournament in Delaware every summer. People would come in, they train all summer, we go to WKs. And we would always do really well. And I had this feeling of like, they're going to be here forever. And they were all gone in 3 months. Because they would all start acting like they were the UFC champs off of a crappy amateur tournament in Delaware. And I was like, my God, they're really not understanding. And then I had to adjust how I was communicating about what this was. So when you were training for a fight, understanding what the value of it was, like it became almost like a purple belt, you know, like, oh, I did my thing, I'm good now.
Yeah.
It was like, no, now you're battle tested, now you're ready, now we can do more things. So I had to adjust it because I was doing a disservice by making it more than it was. And it was like, it was an easy out for people. They were like, okay, I checked the box, I'm a fighter now, cool, I'm good, I never have to do this again. And it was becoming a little bit weird. So after like, I hit like 2 cycles, I was like, wait a minute, ooh, I'm doing this wrong. I'm approaching this wrong. And I'm not doing this in a way that's going to work long-term value for them because they're going to stop training over this, not be excited and keep going. So then we just made it part of the process instead of the process. But you have to adjust. But I could have sat back and said, disloyal. They don't understand how hard I worked for them.
Right.
But I had to say, like, well, if it's happening consistently, it's not like everybody sucks. Well, if it's happening consistently, it means that the system I created sucks. So I got to change. I got to and the system was really just a flawed communication over what this thing meant. So I had to work on it. But I always take the blame first. I always look at myself first because it's so easy to point fingers. So I could have 2 students that I complain to all the time and make no money and go do something else, but feel really good about how I'm traditional, I'm this, I'm that, whatever. No. The success and failure of my business's ability to maintain itself. We just happen to be doing martial arts. This is still a business. Yeah. And it has to provide value at all times, a value that people are willing to pay for. Yeah. You know, that's the thing. And that's, again, we just have to ground that over and over and over. You just got to, every day, walk up. You don't have members, you have customers. You know, they're not your family. You know, okay, that's my favorite. Oh, we're a family. Really?
Right. Yeah.
My mom doesn't kick me out because I miss a payment.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You know?
Family, my brother.
Yeah, I don't have a contractual relationship to be a son.
Right, yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
like, no.
My mom doesn't charge my credit card.
Yeah, it's a transactional relationship.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest issue is it's transactional, sure, but you get a financial advisor. You work with them for the rest of your life. That's a relationship-based business.
Yes.
That's not transactional.
And they care about you.
And
you keep paying them because they care about you and they get your results.
Yes, and the results, and I love this example too because the results aren't always clearly up. If you look at them and you zoom in far enough, the stock market's crazy, right? So you're losing money some years. So there's complete ups and downs, but you stay with them anyway because you have a relationship with them and you trust their long-term plan.
Yes.
That's no different than martial arts, but schools seldom see this in the same light. And to go back to another thing you said too, as far as schools losing their students at a certain point, I notice it's usually one of 2 things, and it ties in too, where you either cater to a fundamentalist or you cater to competitors. Right, so in my work with Ray Longo, Ray was catering to fighters a lot. Fighters don't pay the bills.
No.
You know, so when we first started talking and we started working together, he said he wanted to start building up a fundamentals program, and it's been huge for him It's been huge for him. So now he's built up a gi program at his academy, but not at the sacrifice of the fighters.
You bring up Ray. Ray Longo I love Ray. He was one of the first people in the industry that I ever, like, once we started to talk, I was like, oh my God, you're the best. Like, he's a naturally mentoring kind of guy. He really cares about people. And what you're talking about with him is what he was doing for his fighters. He had a desire to implement that at other levels, but he just needed help doing it. And he needed to detach himself enough to do it. And that's the thing, like, if you are creating success in one way consistently, you can replicate that, but you gotta ask people for help. And you've gotta figure out, like, okay, how do I talk to this level and this level and this level? Talking to fighters is totally different than talking to anybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But what you do with the fighters can trickle down to everybody else in an incredibly beneficial way.
Yeah.
And the money that you're losing with the fighters, you can make back with your members, as long as that you use your fighters as kind of the examples of the do's and don'ts. Like, this is the battle tested methodology we have, and that's why I teach you the way I teach you.
Exactly.
And that's what bridges it. So as long as you're giving people, and then they say, so if I follow this, I may go there.
If you want to.
If I want to.
Yeah.
But no matter what, I'll be as good as them, or at least I'll know what they know.
Yes.
Because this guy's giving me access to that.
Right.
That's really important.
Yeah.
And Ray is the kind of guy that he's definitely not a picker and chooser in terms of who he's saying what to. That guy says what he wants to say, when he wants to say it, to who he wants to say it, because he's got the confidence. He's been doing it forever. He's very good at it. He's secure in himself, and that's why I like him.
Yeah.
There's not an insecurity in that man.
Absolutely.
Like, that's great.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, he's been great to work with. It's awesome seeing that balance between the two. He's the only person that I've ever seen truly balance it very effectively, and maybe it's because he exists at that highest level already, right? Sometimes schools that their head instructor, the owner, doesn't have any competition experience, doesn't have any fight experience, doesn't really get involved in coaching or building up their student base to say, hey, why don't you compete? Why don't you fight? Because they don't really have that background themselves either, isn't able to bridge that gap in that same way.
Again, but we started this whole thing off with knowing who you are. Like, if you're not a competitive coach, you can still teach. Gene Dunn in Brooklyn, he's a jiu-jitsu instructor that doesn't allow people to compete. And he has a very successful jiu-jitsu school because it's jiu-jitsu for life. He's one of Renzo Gracie's original black belts.
Right.
You cannot compete.
Won't
he
allow it
kicks
at all.
you out of the school.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And because he said, we're running jiu-jitsu like a karate school, basically. I know him from karate 1 billion years ago.
Yeah.
And we grew up together in the arts a little bit. Gene's awesome. But his jiu-jitsu school is very unique. You cannot compete. If you go to a Naga, you can't go back to the gym.
Wow.
Like, non-competitive jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's doable.
Yeah.
Like he said, the value of jiu-jitsu for him is being a better person. So he provides a platform for you to get in shape, create a community, learn the thing, be able to defend yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. That's what he wanted. That's what he created. And he does really, really well with it. He doesn't have that insecurity of like, I didn't go to the UFC yet. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's like, good. Let those guys do it.
Right.
That's what they do.
Yes.
This is what I do.
Yeah. Lean into who you are.
Just be who you are.
Exactly. Lean into who you are.
Yeah, and like, fake it till you make it is just such a dumb idea. Like, don't act like a UFC coach if you don't have the experience to be one. Like,
Right.
Don't go buy a Venom tracksuit and put your name on it and act like you went. I've seen it.
Really?
I've actually seen it.
Wow.
I've seen it.
That's crazy.
Go to Kate Sherry. There's a couple coaches that do that already.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, the fake it till you make it idea is kind of like that. You have to believe in yourself. You have to emulate what it is that you're moving
I get it
towards,
fundamentally.
and all that kind of fundamentally. But the thing is, like, from the ego perspective, don't act as if because you're trying to hide. That you're just wearing a mask at that point.
Yes.
And I mean, your students are all coming into your gym wearing masks that you're trying to help them uncover themselves. You can't be wearing one trying to tell them to take theirs off.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, now you're all fundamentally flawed together, and it's now just a mutual messed up scenario.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking about a lot of negative stuff. There's so many good instructors out there too. I don't want to like leave any of this conversation acting as if the entire culture of the industry is screwed, because there are so many guys. Ray's a fine example. Mark Montoya out in Colorado runs Factory X Muay Thai. He has UFC fighters. He has regular fighters. I look at him as like the shining example of what every coach should aspire to be. I love that guy. There's so many good coaches. Jamie Crowder, who runs the MMA program at Henzo in Midtown, Jamie's one of the best people. Like when bad stuff happens in my life, I have like a need to call him. Like he's the one guy who he's like the Marcus Aurelius of my world. Like he's just this stoic dude who just, he has a martial understanding that grounds things and puts in proper perspective for me.
Right.
I love knowing these people.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't competing, I wouldn't have ever met any of these people.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't, venturing out into the world, I wouldn't have met any of these people. So it's like, yes, there's a lot of good stuff here, but there's cultural issues as well.
Yeah.
There's always the good with the bad. You got to talk about the bad because it's the warning signs that I want students to understand. That's the one thing. Right. I want you to walk into a door and I want you to know what to look for. Yes,
to find the right kind of fit school. Ultimately, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I mean, you have a background in other martial arts too. There's good and bad in everything, like you're saying, but traditional Taekwondo, karate schools, there's something lacking there that I notice in a lot of MMA Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools, and then vice versa. There's a lot of things that I notice in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA schools that are lacking in Taekwondo and karate schools. But ultimately, what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has created, I feel like, talk about the beneficial parts of it, right, is, and it's funny because we were talking about the length of time to get a black belt.
Yeah.
But this, I guess, is the flip side, positive to that, which is that there's no standardization. The standardization, I think, is what allows you to speed things up a little bit. When things are not standardized and it's individual to the person, their progression, it's a double-edged sword because it enables us to have killers, right, on the mat that are really, really performing at different levels and not just promote people for the sake of promoting it, but also without a curriculum, like you were saying in the beginning, without a curriculum, everybody's just shooting off at the cuff.
Well, the problem is without a curriculum, that's where the abuse comes in.
Exactly.
I mean, I know an instructor that promoted somebody too fast and lost all of his brown belts and black belts over it. I mean, because he went from being the strictest guy in the world, and then he had a friend who he hung out with too much, and he promoted the guy to black belt really quick, and the guys that took forever were like, he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
But what do you need to know? There's no what do you need to know.
Yeah.
So you say he doesn't know enough. Yeah, but what did you have to know? Mm-hmm. What did anybody have to know?
Yeah.
You get your belt because your instructor deems you worthy. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's where the abuse comes in a lot of ways. And then, I mean, we have a ton of documented cases of guys that get held back because they do well competing at the rank. Mm-hmm. So they just want to rack up wins. So you keep a guy at purple belt for like 5 years, just winning.
That's another thing.
And it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Now that's manipulating the marketplace.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, Seido karate. This is my grounding point for it. What I loved about it was so damn hard, though. I mean, this is not Seido from New York City. This is Seido Kaikan from Japan. Ishii Kancho was the boss of that. They had a belt test every 4 months. And you test every 4 months. Mm-hmm. You don't pay for it unless you pass.
Right.
But you test every 4 months. And you fail most of the tests. But if you passed all the tests, you might get a black belt in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
But the issue was you had to fight. So you had to do conditioning, you had to do fundamental stuff, you had to do partner work, and then you had to fight. So it was it was only 5 belts, also not 10, it was 5 belts. So you go 2, 4, 6, 8, and your black belt would be 10 rounds. Right. And it's knockout rounds. If you got finished, so if you got dropped, that was a half point. If you got dropped twice, you failed the test.
Okay.
If you got dropped and you can't get up in 5 seconds, it's a KO.
Okay.
So most people were like, here we go again. Always training because you got a bunch of savages that want to beat you up, but you had to fight for your rank. It was really extreme. It was really hard. But you knew when a guy had a black belt, he beat 10 people. Mm-hmm. Like he fought 10 rounds. Yeah. A guy had a second degree, he fought 20. Wow. 30 was 30, 40 was 40.
Wow.
I did a 40.
Wow.
I did 10, 20, 30, 40.
Yeah.
Crazy. So I'm looking at this extreme testing process.
Yeah.
And then I see this wide open. I just give you my belt. People
Yeah.
complain they're getting whipped in the gauntlet stuff. And I'm like, bro, whip me in a gauntlet any day. When I tested for my second degree in Switzerland, I couldn't walk for 3 months.
Right.
Like I had a partially torn tendon in my hip and my legs were done.
Yeah.
Like I really did something there. Like, so if we have markers, if we have curriculum, there's respect that comes with the rank, not questions of, did he know the instructor or is he really good? You know, like we see a lot of guys, even in the UFC, get black belts that have never taken a guy down or submitted anyone in a fight. Like, what is it? Pereira got a black belt. I'm like, I don't know if the guy does jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't know if he actually rolls. Like Plano Cruz just gave it to him. And I'm like, I don't know the background on that. But I'm talking to myself going, I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah.
But like, we shouldn't have that question.
No.
It should be all very clear.
Yes.
And that's why I think you standardize it, you make it systematic. People know what, they know you go from here to here by doing these things. It's good.
Yeah.
It's continuity.
Right.
It's fine. Then we're not arguing over who's good, who's bad. It's like, okay, who's done it, who's not.
Yeah.
But again, clanny, cliquish culture versus that, you know, organized culture, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. So, you know, I think MMA, jiu-jitsu, a lot of schools are in this like crisis of, okay, we have one of the largest, most practiced arts in the world, but how do we maintain our businesses? How do we grow the art? How do we minimize the amount of abuse that's in it? Because there's a tremendous amount of abuse. I don't even want to get into the abuse statistics, but they're really bad. You can Google them. There's a tremendous amount of abuse, but it's because it's a nepotism system versus a system based on what do you know and what do you do. So, you know, that's the struggle. That's the struggle, but that's their growing pains, not mine.
It's a lot of good and bad, though. I definitely, out of all the martial arts that I've been involved in, I am proud to be a part of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a lot of the positives in it. And the most interesting part about it, too, is like I see it as the end-all and be-all of martial arts. After MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on one end, you have Muay Thai on the other. This is the end of it. There's no evolution of grappling beyond Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that I see, or closed fist striking the way I see Muay Thai. We're in the middle of history right now. It's just that there's a lot of kinks in the business side of the industry that doesn't seem to have been worked out yet.
There's still science that's evolving in terms of how to utilize the human body most efficiently. I think the mental side of it still has to be expressed a little bit more. There's a lot of things that we're finding out just about our humanity more so than our technical stuff. I think, yes, I do feel like we're kind of getting to that point where I don't know how much more technique there is to learn.
Right.
But there's a lot more we can learn about ourselves in the process. And that's what we're refining now. I really think the mental game is the part. We've been talking for a while. I want to throw one thing out. Is Joe Rogan said on his podcast talking to somebody, he said the human body is not built for combat. And I was like, you are so wrong. Our bodies are absolutely 100% designed for physical conflict and labor. But where we fail is not our body, it's our mind and how we use our bodies. And this goes from an athletic standpoint, it's the same problem we run into with our business, where we let our ego get in the way, or we let the bro science get in the way. The bro science is the worst part. You know, like, oh, I got to cut weight, so I'm just going to starve myself. That's not the way to do it. You know, like there's a scientific way to cut weight. There's a scientific way to go about stuff. If we could trust these processes that we know work and devote our efforts into that, instead of going and running too many miles, lifting too many weights, doing too many reps, fighting too many rounds, and understand, no, to do a 3-round fight, this is where we need to be. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the mental trick of it, so that we don't overdo it and we don't underdo it. Because sometimes we pump ourselves up and we underwork, and then we get so insecure that we overwork. In both cases, we're damaging ourselves. So I really think it's really defining what works and what doesn't. Lloyd Irving, he's a controversial guy in jiu-jitsu circles, but the reason why he found so much success was he was the first statistics guy. He went and took like 5 years of tournaments, and he did the percentages of like, these are all the things that won. These are how they won. Like, these are the amount of matches that were by decision. These are the ones that went by by submission. Then these were the top submissions. So all he did was train to understand the key parts.
Yeah.
And then he smoked everybody.
He moneyballed it.
Yeah, he basically moneyballed it.
Yeah.
So why is Moneyball such an effective thing? Because it was smart people that were doing it, and they never deviated. Neil deGrasse Tyson talks a story about how there's a bunch of physicists go to Vegas for a conference, and Vegas never invited them back because they never made less money on a weekend than that weekend because nobody gambled.
Right.
Because they're physicists and they're smart and they realize the entire system is rigged to take your money.
Yeah.
Like they did not gamble.
Right.
So like when you're really smart about all this stuff, you know what works and what doesn't. And you have to trust that, and that's the lane you got to stay in.
Yeah.
You know marketing. You can't make this up. The algorithm works the way the algorithm works.
That's it, yeah.
Your school's going to work the way your school's going to work. You can't be like really good and bad at your money and expect it to last.
Right.
You can't come in with really good knowledge about money but not understand people and expect your money to matter. Like it's that balance.
Yeah.
And that's again where it's like, okay, be who you are, provide value, and just know your numbers, understand how it works, and you got to accept that this is how it works.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it. It's
Today, this is how it works.
Yeah.
If it changes tomorrow,
Right.
you have to have relationships like this. So
Yep.
somebody comes to you and says, whoa, 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 whoa. It's not Facebook anymore. It's Instagram.
Yeah.
It's not Instagram. It's TikTok.
Yep.
This new thing's coming down the road. You got to put some time into it.
Yep.
Then don't go, well, I'm really good at Instagram. Yeah, but there's 3 people there, and the rest of them went here. You know, it
Yep.
bounces.
Yeah. You have to be open to growing, open to changing,
Yeah.
and be true to yourself. That's the
That's like a Taekwondo guy trying to fight a
Yep.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy in MMA in the early days.
yeah,
Came out, I'm a black belt Taekwondo. Yeah, but you're going to get choked out.
yeah,
You know,
100%.
you don't want to get choked out by
Yeah.
the market because you're too close-minded.
Ronda Rousey trying to kickbox Holly Holmes. That's what happens. You
Stay
get
in
your
your
teeth knocked
lane.
in. Stay in your lane.
lane.
Stay in your lane. If she did judo, if she practiced her judo against her, that would have been a totally different fight.
Yeah, but again, that's you listen to too many voices.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it was awesome talk, Brian. Thank you for
I
having me.
appreciate you having me. That was a lot of fun. I always enjoy having these conversations, and you know, I hope I didn't piss too many people off.
No, I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
Looking forward to having you next time.
All right.
All right.
Next time you come on mine.
Yeah, there you go. Looking forward to it.
All right.
See you guys next time for After Hours, The Ground Standard.